Good day, future educators. Once again, this is Miss Mary with you today. So I'm happy that you are here and I hope that you are all healthy and well in your home and of course your family also. So I'm excited for today as we will learn much. So I hope that you learn from our session today and that you may use this in your endeavors as educators in the future. So before we start, I like to start my class with a mindfulness meditation wherein we can relax first and let our minds be ready as well as our hearts for another day of learning. So for this mindfulness meditation, so I'll just ask you to please sit comfortably on your chair. So if you are sitting on a chair, you can put your feet onto the floor, put them firmly and flat on the floor, put your hands on your lap, and then slowly close your eyes, and then slowly listen to this music. So when you're ready, please close your eyes. As you inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Feel the air as it goes into your body and out. Allow your breath to be your anchor. So whenever your mind wanders, just simply go back to your breath. Go back to focusing on your inhale and exhale. Feel as the air goes into your body, either through your nose or your mouth, and how it goes out of your body. Once again, either through your nose or from your mouth, without forcing it one way or the other. Just notice your breath. Notice as you inhale and exhale. Feel your shoulders drop with every exhale. Feel your chest as it goes up whenever you inhale, and your shoulders drop whenever you exhale. For a few seconds, I'll let you practice on your own, inhaling and exhaling. Just remember, whenever your mind wanders, just simply let go of your thoughts or distractions and go back to your breath. Take 3 deep breaths. 1, 2, 3. Please put your right hand on your chest and then quietly say to yourself, I am a beautiful person. I am a wonderful person. I love and accept myself exactly as I am. take one deep breath. You may put your hand down, and when you're ready, you may slowly open your eyes. Good day once again. So how are you feeling? Are you feeling more relaxed? And do you feel that you are ready to listen for today? So whenever you feel that you're tired or you're restless, you can do that mindfulness meditation. So you can relax your mind from any thoughts, from any worries, and just simply be with yourself and your breath. So there you go. So again, welcome to our class. So this is instructional adaptations for language and literacy. So today we will tackle about the assessment of the current performance in language and literacy. So why assessment? Why do we have to start with assessment? So let us know in our class. So let's start with the missing piece. What is assessment? So according to Bolt et al., it is a process when we collect information or data for the purpose of making decisions on the kind, level, and effectiveness of the support and instruction needed by the students. So through assessment, we can determine what type of instructional adaptations will we give to them. So through this process, we are able to gather relevant information that will assist us in deciding which content we will teach and what instructional adaptations will we use that will cater to the needs of our students. So again, why assess? So the purpose of assessment first is it helps identify what are the general areas wherein the students need additional help. Remember that our students have certain needs that they need to have some accommodations, adaptations, so they can have access to the content, so they can be able to learn. They will be able to learn. So through this assessment, we will be able to determine what areas needs help, what specific difficulty does this child have, which goes on to our next, which is identifying both the strengths and weaknesses of our students. So yes, we don't only look at the needs. We will also want to know what are their strengths. At what level are they already? What do they know? Right? And the next, what are the possible teaching strategies and remedial approaches that we can use for this student to help the student to address those additional help and caters to their weaknesses. Also to their strengths, because for their strengths, it also equates to the factors that they like. So it will help us to know your students, who they are as a person, as a learner. So do you remember in our introductory part when I asked you about how do you learn? So that's a type of assessing yourself in knowing that, okay, I learn better using this strategy. So that is the purpose of our assessment. So just to keep it short, it helps us in knowing what to teach, how to teach, and what expectations are realistic. So of course, we need to determine, okay, for within this year. Now, given that you know this already, this is what their baseline is. This is what they know. So Now, what content or what can I teach within this year that is realistic, that is applicable, and we are able to achieve given a year's time of the school year. Okay, so just a summary. So assessment provides us with that missing piece that we need before we start our lessons, our instructions. So it provides us with that missing piece that we want to know who the student. So if we have this whole picture, there's still some piece that is missing about what are the strengths and the weaknesses of the students, or what areas does he find difficult. So assessment provides us with that piece. Again, what I said before, it provides us with the strengths and weaknesses of the children or our students. So it is important to know what they already know, what the students already grasps, at what level are they. And of course, with that, the weaknesses, what do we need to improve? Also, for the strengths, we just need to enrich them. So to continue their knowledge of it, or possible, we add on it. And then for the weaknesses, we help them improve this, or we help them change these weaknesses into their strengths, right? And of course, it provides us with our starting point. Okay, provide us where we will start our lessons, at what content, right? And it provides us with our start in planning what type of instruction or what instructional adaptations we will provide to the students. Okay. So assessment provides us with the missing piece, with the strengths and the weaknesses of the students, and our starting point in making our goals, the content to teach, what to teach, how to teach, and what expectations are realistic. So how do we assess language and literacy? Let's see. In language and literacy, there are two main or important factors that we need to consider: the oral language and the written language. So we don't communicate, or we don't use language only by speaking. So we also use we can also show language through written form. So it's in oral and written form. So this is where the 5 macro skills comes into place. So in oral language, we have oral comprehension, which is listening. And then we also have oral expression, which is speaking. So whenever we communicate, we show that we understand what the person said when we speak, when what we say is related to the topic, right? And next, we can also express or communicate through writing or reading, or written comprehension. So remember, we have books, right? The author of books, storybooks, they communicate through the written work that they do. So by reading those texts, by reading those storybooks, so they are able to communicate to us what they learned, what they researched on. So one of the 5 macro skills is written comprehension or reading. And we also have written expression. So this is what the authors do. So they write what they learned, right? And for our students, they show learning through essay writings. Not just, it can be, we may have oral recitations, but we can also communicate it through writing. And next, we have viewing. So viewing, why is it part of the 5 macro skills? So remember, our 21st century learners, they have access to media, to YouTube, where they learn. I read that some of you are visual learners. So through viewing, like this, what we are doing now, we are able to communicate knowledge to the students, to the learners. But of course, we have to be careful with viewing. We have to pick which items or which shows are relevant for the development of the students. So once again, in language and literacy, these are what we will assess. Oral and written language, specifically listening, speaking, reading, writing, and viewing. Now, what will we use to assess these skills? So let's go to the tools. So we have 5 specific tools. So we have CBA, language sampling, P, RS3, and BEA. So first, let's go to CBA. CBA stands for curriculum-based assessment. So maybe you have learned this in your assessment class. So this may come as a review for you. But just to refresh you, so curriculum-based assessment, so it allows us to anchor our assessment based on the given curriculum. So here are, to refresh your minds, here are the steps in how we do curriculum-based assessments. So our acronym here is APPLY. So A is for analyze. So from the term, it's curriculum-based. So first, we need to analyze the curriculum. So what curriculum is applicable to the child based on his age or his developmental needs. Next, prepare. So now, after we analyze the curriculum, now we have to prepare the items that we will use to assess the level of the child based on the objectives that we see that is applicable to the child. And next, probe. So we have to probe frequently. So we have to schedule when we will do the assessment. So we have to counter check. Once is not enough. So we have, after getting data from this day, so you have to see its validity. You have to see if the child continuously or consistently show this behavior or continuously shows knowledge on this topic. And next, load. You have to load the graphs. So it's better to look at the data when it is loaded through graphs through tables rather than just anecdotes. So loading them through graphs will be able to help you in not only presenting the specific details of the assessment, but it also provides you with visual input in how to make sense of the data. And last, yield. So of course, after you get your results, you have to yield to the results. This is where you will make decisions on what will be your content or your instructional adaptation. Or most of all, you have to take note. First, you have to take note of what are the results and what are the results telling me to come up with your decisions. With the revisions, let's say revisions on the content or in your instructional adaptations. Okay, so let's have this sample to better explain to you curriculum-based assessment. So This is just a hypothetical case, but remember that when you present a case, you have to protect the identity of your students. So as you can see, his face is not showing. But since this is your student, so the name is given. However, when you present this or show it, even posting in social media, remember that when you post in social media, remember that as much as possible, you cover the eyes or the face is not showing to protect the privacy of the child. And more so, you have to ask the parents first for their permission. Otherwise, refrain from posting. So going back, so sample. So John is a 5-year-old boy. He received occupational and speech therapy since he was 3 years old. This is his first time to go to school. He has difficulty in remembering facts and concepts. He frequently needs review and practical experiences. So if you have noticed, I didn't put any diagnosis. So because I want you to, rather than look at the diagnosis, look at the child. Look at the child, specifically who he is, what are his strengths, what are his needs, rather than focusing on the diagnosis. Although it helps us in providing or knowing a set of adaptations that we can use. But as much as possible, I want you to look at the child as a person. So I want you to look at a child as who he is. So step 1, analyze the kinder curriculum. So why kinder curriculum? So remember the child's age. So he is 5 years old. So students who are 5 years old reflects the kinder curriculum. So that is the curriculum appropriate for their age. So this is a sample of the kinder curriculum in language, literacy, and communication. So there is a subdomain. So as you can see, oral language is part of it. So as I mentioned before in what we will assess, right? So it's part of language, literacy, and communication. So this is just a subdomain. So if you browse the curriculum, there are other parts wherein you can also see the listening skills of the child. But here, I want to focus in oral language in our example. So the content standard is increasing his or her conversational skills. Now, it is further explained through a performance standard. So what specifically in increasing the conversational skills of the child? So we want them to confidently speak and express his or her feelings, ideas in words and that makes sense. Still, that's still broad, right? So there is the learning competencies. So the learning competencies provide us with the specific objectives to targets the content and the performance standard. So here I chose as just one competency so that we will assess as for this sample. So we have use proper expression in introducing self. For example, I am or my name is. So the learning competency here is for the child to be able to express themselves through introducing themselves first. So it can be like examples for start with their name or basic information about them. So now, step 2, after analyzing the curriculum, now we will prepare the to match the curriculum objectives. So remember the learning competency or the objective, specific objective was to be able to introduce themselves. So here is the activity that we will have. So if it's introducing self, it can be written, but here, remember the subdomain is oral language. So essentially, our target here is for the child to orally introduce himself. I have here a practical activity. So the direction here is the directions involves answering the following questions. So yes, what is your name? How old are you? And what is your gender? So the basic information, the name, the age, and the gender of the student. So the assessor will take the rating or will check the rating that corresponds to the performance. So we have here a rating. So independent tells that the child can tell his name, age, and gender independently and complete sentences. So remember that when you do the rating, you have to be specific. So given prompts, so the child can tell his name, age, and gender with visual prompts. So it can be that he's reading something, or verbal prompts, wherein the assessor or an individual prompts the child, saying, for example, if his name is John, provides the first syllable, like that. And or has yet to do, has yet to tell his name, age, and gender. So that is the activity. So now we have to probe frequently. So step 3, we have to schedule. So for example, let's schedule that for this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I will assess how the child introduces himself. So not just Monday. Let's make it until 3 trials. So let's give him 3 trials or chances to show how he introduced his name. So now, after assessment, you have to load the data using graph format so you can better look at it. So you don't just rely on your checklist. So you can do it. You can make it into a table or on a graph if it's numerical. So if it's about grading, there's specific grades, so you can do it in a graph. So you can see it can be bar graph or line graph. So for here, since it's descriptive, I used a table. So the personal information of the child, name, age, and gender. So for Monday at cross Wednesday, it is observed that he is given prompts to be able to give his name, his age, and his gender. And step 5, so yield to the results. Take note. So what can you notice from this? So take note that the child has yet to say his or give his personal information, name, age, or gender without prompts. So he is still given prompts whenever he is asked for his name, age, and gender. Yeah, so remember, take note. So it is important, so because this result is important in deciding the content and the type of instructional adaptation that we will provide. Okay, so that is CBA. Now we have language sampling. So in language sampling, we assess oral language, listening, speaking, and viewing. When we view something, we have a tendency to express it through our words, to explain what we saw. So that's why I included viewing. So our acronym here is SIE. S-I-E. SIE. Okay, S stands for spontaneous language. So here, in language sampling, it is important to remember that we assess the child in his or her natural environment. So in spontaneous language, we just allow them to tell stories about themselves. It's like it's not structured. So we just allow them to provide any details about themselves. That's why here it is important to record the 50 to 100 utterances that the child has or showed whenever they play, during play, or when they talk to an adult. So for children, younger children, so it is for if you want to get the spontaneous language of the child, you can do it using play. So whenever they play, you sit beside them. From time to time, you ask them, oh, what color is this? Oh, what are you playing? Then allow the child to express himself, or just let them tell a story while they are playing. And then for adults or older children in junior high or senior high, so it can be through conversations and can be through storytelling. So the important here in spontaneous language is you have to show the child that you're interested in what they want to say. Show that I'm here, I'm listening to you, I'm listening to what you have to say. So just let the conversation flow without correcting them one way or the other. And through this, you record the 150 to 100 utterances that they provide. And next we have imitation. So this is a bit more structured than spontaneous language. In imitation, remember this logo, repeat. So we say something and then we ask the child to repeat it. It can be words, phrases, or sentences. So remember that in imitation, you can also try that you can say sentences that are long, that is beyond the memory of the child, to see how they provide structure to the sentence, how they imitate it, how they say it. And next, we have E, which is elicited language. So this is, out of all, this is the most structured because here we actually target something for them to say. So within spontaneous language, it's like free. For imitation, a bit structured, and then for elicited, this is the most structured because we have specific objects, pictures to show them that we need them to explain or point. So first is point to the correct object. For example, you may have different objects. This can be a picture or this can be concrete depending on the needs of the child. So it's better that you have materials ready. You may have, if it's an apple, picture of an apple, and then you really have, it's like just a toy apple will suffice. So for example here, point the correct object. So here you ask the child, oh, can you point to the flower? So here, we assess the vocabulary of the child and the receptive language, how they listen to what we say and how they understood it. What is flower, right? So it shows their vocabulary if they know what flower is from the word that they hear and the picture that it illustrates or the object, its corresponding object. So here you may have choices. For example, for a storybook, you can do it using a storybook and then you ask him, oh, where is the dog? Can you point the dog, point the cat? Then the next is point to the picture that best illustrates the sentence. So here, we will level up the difficulty. So there is a sentence and then the child should comprehend what the sentence means through the pictures. In a way, it shows the comprehension, vocabulary and comprehension of it tests or assesses the vocabulary and the comprehension of the child. And last, name or describe the picture. So here it's not just about receptive. This is more about expressive. So this is more about the speaking skills of the child to be able to name what object is that, Remember, in our first item, it's more about pointing. They didn't say the flower, right? So here, you ask the child, what object is this? And then you may ask them to describe it. So you will know if they know any describing words, if they will be able to explain what they see. For example, um, what object is this? Yeah, so if they can answer flower, so you can follow up with, oh, what color is the flower? So here we will be able to know if they understand the word color, what is color, and we'll be able to express it. Or what is the, or how many flowers are there? So those are some of the questions that we can ask them to be able to describe the picture and to be able to elicit responses wherein they express their answers. So not just pointing, but speaking. Yeah. So for language sampling, remember, if you want to assess listening, speaking, and viewing, so remember C, spontaneous language, imitation, and elicited language. So some tips, just some tips when using Z. So first, you have to record. Because remember, in spontaneous language, you have to record 50 to 100 utterances. So it's hard to document everything while you're listening to the kid, right? And of course, the kid will not appreciate it when he's speaking and then you are writing. So you can ask for it to be recorded. So, but caution, when you record, remember to have a consent form first. You ask the parent that there is an assessment that will happen and that you need to record it. So this is to protect the privacy of the child. And of course, you have to explain to them that those who will listen to the recording are only related parties. So you have to ensure that. And then there should be materials ready. So remember, in the spontaneous language, it is during play. So you need to have toys ready. So this will serve as your stimulus materials for the spontaneous language and the elicited language. So remember, in elicited language, we need materials such as read objects, pictures. So you have to get them ready prior to your assessment. And you may also ask the child to further express himself in past, present, or future tenses. So you may ask them in spontaneous language that when he's playing a car, okay, you can ask him, oh, where did the car go? For past tense, right? Or where will the car go? To elicit future tense. If so, here you can assess if the child has knowledge in the tenses of verbs. And next, here you have to repeat, or this is just a tip that you can repeat what they say. So when you record, it will be easy for you to transcribe. For example, the child says, I like it banana. So you repeat it to him, I like it banana. So you just repeat what he says. But if you notice that this distracts the child rather than helpful, so you can stop. This is just a tip for you when you record, so you will be able to say the clear words. You can listen to it. But if you find it distracting for the child, or the child is distracted, you can opt not to do this or follow this tip. It depends on the student. And of course, take notes. So You should have always a paper and pencil ready just to take notes. But still, when the child is talking, we have to show that we are listening. So maybe you can take notes after the session immediately, transcribe what you recorded, or take notes of what happened during the session to make use of your recall. Okay, there. Now, that you have the language sampling or the sample, how will we analyze it? So this is more technical. So we can analyze it through the plural markers, both regular and irregular. So here you will analyze the use of correct grammar. If the child is using correct grammar when he speaks. There. So that is language sampling. So next we have P. So P and RS3. So these two are used for the written language. So previously, if it's about oral language, if C is assessing oral language, P and RS3 is assessing the written language, specifically writing and spelling. So P. So P stands for portfolio assessment. To assess writing language or the writing skill of our students, portfolio will help us. So portfolio can include their best works, their journals for those in higher grade levels, or it can also involve the previous teacher checklists. So you may ask the parent for this, compilation of their past activities. So for example, in our case, John, in our sample, so he had OT, occupational therapy. So maybe they have their activities that you can ask if you can provide his writing activities for you to see at what level he is in writing. And then we also have error analysis. So from the term error analysis, so we look for the error in content and style. So this is more so for higher grades when you see error in spelling or the content itself, the structure of the sentences. If they proofread, you can see there if they proofread, if they check their sentences, if it makes sense. And style, it involves the punctuation marks, the grammar. So in error analysis, we actually check which parts or points the child committed errors. So in our handouts, I provided three tools that you can use. So you can browse them. So one of them is in spelling. So there is a specific way or guide in how you can analyze the error with the spelling of your student. So please refer to those tools. So next we have RS3. So in RS3, R stands for recognition response. So this is a sample. So in recognition response, we provide alternatives in spelling. So this is more in spelling, the RS3. So here we provide different spellings, but our word is friend. So we say the word, then you ask the child to choose which of the words spells friend. So here, right? This one. So that is recognition response. So here, the next one, S3. So it involves spelling dictated single words. So remember when we have spelling activities for the child, so we dictate the words and then you let them spell those words. So this is single words. So there's a research that says that students actually prefer that just the word is said. So maybe because if we add sentences, it adds more input, so they don't know which to spell, right? We can provide them with the option that if they want, you can use the word in a sentence so they can better understand, especially for words that has the same sound like ice, Filipino yellow, or eyes, our eyes or mata. So for those exceptions, I think you can say the sentences or use the words in sentences. And next, spelling the word in context. So if the first one we just spell the word, here they will actually make sentences using the word. So here we'll also be able to not just assess the spelling, but also the written expression of the child. So the how they express themselves through writing. And last, self-monitoring. So in self-monitoring, we ask the child to proofread and look if there are errors and look and assess if they are able to here we will assess if they are able to detect the errors and correct them. Here. So that is PNRS3. So the last tool is BEA. So BEA refers to beginning and advanced. So this is more of assessment in reading. So in reading, it is divided into the beginning level and the beginning level and the advanced level. So for B, so in beginning, what do we assess for beginning readers? So here we assess first the phonics, so the letter recognition of the child and the letter sounds, as well as noting details and comprehension. So in noting details, these are simple questions, simple WH questions, such as what was the title of her story, who are the characters, so noting the details of the story. So there, I have here a sample of a checklist in letter recognition and sound. So this will provide you with easier way in order to tally which letters they know. So here at the side, you can see the uppercase letters, the other side lowercase. And the music note refers to the sound. So you can actually make this kind of teacher-made checklists to help you in assessing your students. So now, for reading or rate of oral reading, so to calculate how many words they read correctly in a given text, so this is the formula. So you will provide a text that they will read that should exceed 2 minutes. And then it is important that the child has a copy and you have a copy, so you can check which they read correctly and which has errors. So after the child or after the 2 minute period, so this is how you will get the rate of oral reading. So you get the number of words read correctly and divided by 2. And then you also get the number of errors divided by 2. So the results, so this is the expected results for the children. So if the words are just a list of words, let's say that's just Dutch words or sight words, so 80 words per minute is they say as acceptable for the children or the normal for the children to read, to be able to read an average. So it's 80 words per minute with less than or fewer than 2 errors. Now, if it's a text or it's a story, short story, or a long paragraph, so it is expected that there should be 100 words per minute, correct words per minute, with 2 or less errors. there. So that is for the beginner or beginning. Now let's go to the advanced. So advanced can pertain to those intermediate or to junior to senior high. So mostly at this age, we notice that the child reads silently or they read to themselves in a soft voice or with visual scanning. Visual scanning pertains to reading while pointing to the words or the sentences. But still, it's silent reading, not like in the beginning reading wherein the child reads aloud. So here, it is expected that the child may exceed 1,000 words per minute. So remember, a while ago, it's just 100 words. So here, the expected is 1,000 words per minute. And of course, it's not just about noting details. So here, we provide stories, and then the question is about getting the main idea or inferring from the story. What did they learn about the story? What was the lesson of the story? Or it can be about symbolisms, irony. So we assess this using multiple choice or essay questions. And remember here when assessing reading, the library here, the library is our friend. So the library will provide us with several resources of reading materials that we can use to assess the child's reading skill, beginning and advanced. So once again, these are the tools in assessing language and literacy. So we have CBA, curriculum-based assessment. We have language sampling. We have P or RS3, and we have BEA. So in CBA or curriculum-based assessment, it helps us assess the level of the child in terms of the curriculum objectives. And then language sampling, it helps us assess the oral language of the child. So the listening, speaking, and viewing. So P and RS3 helps us assess the written language of the child. So writing and spelling. And BEA helps us assess the reading of the child, reading skill of the child. So now, let's go on to the case sample. So this is where we will make use of the tools. So let's see how will we use the tool to assess language and reading. So after knowing these are the tools that I will use, now how will we apply it? So this is our case sample. So remember John a while ago. So once again, this is his profile. So he is 5 years old. He's a boy. He received occupational and speech therapy since he was 3 years old. This is his first time to go to school. And then he has difficulty in remembering facts and concepts. He also has difficulty expressing himself using complete sentences. He frequently needs review and practical experiences. So his teacher, Miss Anne, wanted to assess his current performance in language and literacy. So she used 3 tools: curriculum-based assessment, portfolio assessment, and teacher-made test, a teacher-made checklist for letter recognition and sounds. So now, these are the tools that she used. Let's see what results or what are the results given these tools, or how did she use it. So if you remember a while ago for our sample, so the curriculum-based assessment, so she assessed, or Miss Anne assessed, the child's learning competency in introducing himself, using his name, age, and gender. So here, these are the answers that he provided. So when he was asked, he just said John, 5, and boy. So remember that he provided this given prompts. So next, portfolio assessment. So in portfolio assessment, as you can see, so his full name is John Zeus A. Reyes. So these are some activities that he may have during his occupational therapies, right, or his occupational therapy sessions given by his occupational therapist. So you can observe that he copies his full name. He follows the blue-red-blue lines in copying. However, notice the spacing. So what can you notice? Or what can you observe about the spacing between the letters? So it's too close to each other. So it shows that he has difficulty in providing necessary spaces. So he writes the proper structure of the letters, both uppercase and lowercase. He's able to write it within the following guidelines or the lines. But look at the spacing. And here, we were also given a sample of copying some sentences about himself. So, I am 5 years old and I am a boy. So, as you have noticed here, so there are times that it is overlapping. So, same as with his name, observe that he writes the letters following the lines. However, the spacing is too close, so there is no necessary spacing given or provided. Here. Next, we have the checklist or teacher made checklist. So let's observe the check or just look at the checklist closely. So as you can see, so he is able to recognize or he recognizes the uppercase, the lowercase letters from A to Z. However, notice this for the sounds. So he has yet to produce the sounds. So to further know what happened during the assessment, let's look at the anecdotes. So it's also good that aside from the checklist, you provide some anecdotes. So if you make this checklist at the bottom or at the side, you can provide a space for your anecdotes. So here, John identified the uppercase and lowercase letters with ease, even when the letters were presented in random order. But take note here that for lowercase, there are times when he paused for a few seconds before answering. And then he has yet to sound off. So that is what the X mark means. That he has yet to sound off the letters nor recognize the letters when only the sound was given. So if you will show him the visual of the letter, he was able to identify. But if you say here, for example, you just say G, what letter makes G sound? So he has yet to say or recognize the letters based from their sounds, nor sound them off. So there we go. So those are the results of the 3 tools that Miss Anne used. Now, let's look further at the results. So how will we make sense of the results provided from the various tools that we use? Step 1, so we need to write the results into paragraph forms following this format. So let's itemize 2 important points. So for the first paragraph, so you will put there the strengths or the needs for enrichment. And then for the second paragraph, the weaknesses or the difficulties based from the results or what we need to improve. So here's the sample. So strengths. So you can put there up atop the label so you will be able to determine better. So John produces one-word responses. When asked about his personal information, he copies his name in uppercase and lowercase letters and follows the blue, red, blue lines. He also copies words and sentences in uppercase and lowercase letters within the line. He recognizes and identifies letter symbols in uppercase and lowercase forms. So if you have noticed, in strengths, it shows all the capabilities of the child, what he can do during given the assessment tools that we provided. But notice in the strengths, what seems to be missing? What important what important description do you think is missing in the first sentence? So here it says that John produces one-word responses when asked about his personal information. So remember the rating in curriculum-based assessment. So he produced these responses given prompts. So here it was not specified. So remember that when you provided the results, it is better to give the specific results, be more specific. So when he produced results, so he was able to do it independently on his own, or was he given prompts? So in this case, it is better that we add that point that he was able to say the one-word responses given some prompts. Because with that, we will be able to know that, oh, he still needs some enrichment in that he needs to be able to do independently, right? And then next, for the weaknesses and difficulties. So John has difficulty expressing himself using three-word phrases to complete sentences. So remember, he is able to use one word. And then he copies letters but has yet to be mindful of the proper spacing. He has yet to recognize and produce the letter sounds. So now, after itemizing them, the strengths and difficulties through the paragraph, step 2. So now we will extract the strengths and difficulties from the paragraphs and then put them into the tables or in bullet form so you can view them better. So like in apply, remember when we have graphs or tables, so it offers us more visual input rather than just texts. So it provides us with the summary, like a simple summary of the results. So here for strengths and here for weaknesses and difficulties. So here produces one-word responses. So again, it's better to add with or given prompts. And then copies his name in uppercase and lowercase letters following blue, red, blue lines. And recognizes, identifies letter symbols in uppercase and lowercase letters. So now going to the weaknesses and difficulties. So just states that he has difficulty in expressing himself using three-word phrases to complete sentences. He has yet to be mindful of proper spacing when copying or writing words and sentences, and he has yet to recognize and produce letter sounds. So look closely at the table. So what differences can you see from the paragraph to this table? So when we put it into table form, we are able to see immediately what are his strengths directly, what are his difficulties. And also remember how it starts with a verb. And here, how it starts with has or has yet to. So these simple changes in our words provide us with better understanding of what are the strengths as well as the weaknesses of the child. Better, for the difficulties, it provides us the word has yet rather than using can, cannot, or cannot. It provides us with room for improvement. That from here, it shows that it's not just showing that the child cannot do this. It's showing that he has yet to do this. We're giving room for improvement. We're giving him time, or we're giving him a chance that he is able to do this eventually, given the instructional adaptations that we will provide. So there, remember, when you make this or your assessment, your results, so it's better that you start with the verb, and then rather than saying can or cannot, just focusing on the abilities or the things that he cannot do, focus on saying that he has yet to do this. It's like saying that eventually we will get there, right? We will work on it. So, and that is the purpose, right, of learning, to provide changes, and of course, relevant and good changes. So now you have the pieces. See, it's complete now. So you now know the strengths that you will enrich, the strengths to enrich, the weaknesses and difficulties to improve, the current performance level and needs of the student in language and literacy. Now, the next step is the content. So what will we teach, or what to teach? So for the next module, we will now know how to make sense or using our assessment in deciding what to teach or what content should we teach for this child. Okay, so tune in to our module 2, wherein we will acquire the content from the curriculum or from the K-12 curriculum given by the DepEd. Of course, with consideration to the needs of the students. You go. So if you have any questions or clarifications, so you can message me through Schoolbook, or you can email me to my email. Then, and of course, after this, I will also post a discussion thread wherein you can have, or you can ask there your questions, you can brainstorm. And then also remember that we have our reflective questions, which I will post in Schoolbook. So those reflective questions, you can answer them on your own. You can answer them with me. You can just think about it, or you can write it down, depending on your learning style. Or you can also answer them at the discussion thread. So feel free to comment on each other's answers. Feel free to talk about the lesson and what you learned, what needs to be clarified. So there. So I hope that you learned much from our session today. So I'm happy that you are able to watch this and learn from our simple presentation. So I hope that you tune in to our next session wherein we will use what we learned from this session in acquiring the content of what we will teach. So once again, thank you, and I hope that you are all well and healthy. So thank you for attending our class today. Thank you for watching this video that I prepared for you. So once again, if you have any questions, clarifications, feel free to message me, or feel free to ask it in our discussion tab or thread. So I hope that through this presentation, you learned much in acquiring or how to assess the current performance of our students, and why is it important to start with this step rather than immediately starting with the instructional adaptations. So I hope that you reflect on this, And I hope to see you in our next class. Bye!